It is frustrating when an appraiser has to be scared of the post office.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
Hey everybody, quick mini-sode. Just got back from a mastermind in Chicago, another one in DC, and came back to a scary letter. A letter that many of us have received. I want to talk about that and the crazy world that we live in if we are an appraiser. I want to pause here, remind you, we are sponsored by ANow Software. ANow is a management system that was invented by appraisers for, well, appraisers. It's set up for you. It is it's a way to manage every bit from top to bottom of your appraisal office, whether you're a single person appraisal office or multiple. Check them out. Go to anow.com and get 30% off for 3 months if you use the coupon code podcast30. Folks, I just had a wonderful, wonderful time traveling. I actually stopped to see my daughter who's at Michigan State for a couple of days. We spent some time in Detroit, in East Lansing, and in Chicago. Just had a fabulous time. Had a great mastermind in Chicago on Monday, another great mastermind in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, and then took a late night flight. Got home quite late on Tuesday evening. Woke up, today is Wednesday, woke up to several things, including when I got to my office in Idaho Falls, I had a certified mail, sorry we missed you sticker on the outside of my door. And first of all, you should know that it's super weird that they would even send it to this address because I honestly, I've said before, I have a broom closet, right? I'm in it now. This is where I do my recording for the most part. And there's really nowhere to deliver mail, but nonetheless, they got the address somewhere. And it was a certified piece of mail to my old company name. And I thought, what do you think this is? In other words, this is a piece of mail that I've got to sign for before they release it. Therefore, they didn't just slip it under my door. I've got to go pick it up. And folks, I had a lot going on this morning, getting back from a couple masterminds. I had, 20 plus emails I needed to return and Slack messages and, just to do things that I needed to work through. Even though the post office is just around the corner, I didn't have time to run over there. But folks, what are you thinking, right? A certified piece of mail comes. I've got to sign for it. They don't drop it off. They don't give me any information as to where it come from. In fact, the sheet said who it was to, showed that it was a letter, not a parcel. My first thought, it was too big to leave, right? The box was too small for the package. No, this was a letter, certified. I've got to sign it, and it was to the company, not to me personally. I don't know where your mind goes, but I can tell you right where mine went. In fact, I was on the phone with one of my appraisers. You've met him here on this podcast, Jarrett. When I received it, I was actually talking to him on the phone when I walked around the corner, and I said, uh-oh. He said, what? And I said, I just got a certified piece of mail to the business. And he goes, uh-oh. Another complaint? I'm like, I'm sure it is. What else would it be? Folks, I'll tell you what else it was and the irony in what I found when I went to the post office this afternoon after we get back from the break. But first, I want to pause here and remind you that we're sponsored by ANow Software. Folks, just this morning, I had one of my employees complain about volume. Hey, why aren't we more busy? And I said, I think we are. But let me double check. Literally in 10 minutes, I told him everything he needed to know about the last 4 months of our volume. In fact, it didn't even take me 10 minutes. I was actually on the phone with him, playing with numbers while we were talking about other things. And by the time we got off the phone, maybe 3 minutes later, I had the orders broken down for October, November, December, January, February, all laid out on a step-by-step basis. Why? Because ANow keeps track of that for me. Folks, I just have to hit a couple buttons and I've got all that information. Think of what you can do as a business owner when you know your numbers. You need to know your numbers, folks. Check it out. Go to anow.com, anow.com, and use the coupon code podcast30. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out once again. A quick mini-sode for you today about the irony of the things that appraisers need to be afraid of. Folks, and I'll tell you, I'm going to get on my soapbox for a little bit after I tell you the rest of the story, so stay tuned for that. It's not something you haven't heard from me before, but it's frustrating. It truly is. Very frustrating, I think, for all of us across the nation, and I don't know what the solution is. Would love to hear from you as far as what solutions could be out there, but it is frustrating when you show up after a wonderful trip, a wonderful time with my daughter, and spending time with my mastermind clients, and then I get a sticky sticky note on my door saying that a certified letter was, tried to be delivered, could not be because I wasn't here to sign for it, and I had to wait about 3.5 hours before I could go to the post office and figure out what in the world was awaiting me. The first thing I saw when he came out from around the corner, so I'm standing there at the post office line. I get up to the counter, happen to know the guy, says, "Hi, Bob, how are things?" He and I exchange pleasantries. And I said, "Well, I got one of these." And I handed it to him. He goes, "Okay, let me go grab that." He walked back there. He came back, and I saw in his hand that it said Bonneville County Sheriff's Department. And folks, here's the irony. I breathed a sigh of relief. What kind of world do we live in as appraisers when we get a letter from the Bonneville County Sheriff's Department and we are relieved that it doesn't say the Idaho Board of Appraisal? Folks, I'm sorry. And by the way, it was just a payroll thing. It was a long past employee who has a garnishment on their wages. I just got to fill out the paperwork and say she doesn't work here anymore. It's that simple. But for 3.5 hours, I had to worry about the next complaint coming down the pipe. Now, folks, let me be very clear. I am not saying that there should not be a process for if there are shenanigans going on. Right? If there are individuals out there committing fraud and doing things that are hurting the public trust, I'm absolutely a believer that there needs to be a process. But the amount of complaints and the amount of, "Gee, you didn't come in at my purchase price, therefore you must be a bad appraiser," honestly, it's frustrating. It is frustrating when an appraiser has to be scared of the post office, has to be afraid. And honestly, I'll just be completely blunt, folks. I didn't worry too much about it because these things are what they are, but it was on the back of my mind all morning long. I probably should have just gotten in my car, driven down to the post office so I could just not have to worry about it, not have to let it sit on my shoulder for 3.5 hours. But that's the world that we live in. Folks, we need to be doing a good job. We need to be making sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. We need to be protecting the public trust, right? That's what we hang our hat on. When people say we don't need appraisers, I would say absolutely we need appraisers. We need professionals out there who are protecting the integrity of the risk that's out there when it comes to loans or whatever other purpose we have for appraisal. Those things are super important, right? Absolutely important. But in the end, we shouldn't be afraid of the mailbox. Thank you for joining me today, folks, and we will catch you next time.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.